The Atlanta Falcons just made their move. Kevin Stefanski is officially the new head coach, and this hire is already causing some serious reactions across the NFL. Some people are calling this a home run. Others, like Skip Bayless, are losing their minds, saying Atlanta just made a huge mistake. So what's the real story here? Let's break down what just went down in Atlanta. So here's where we're at. The Falcons just wrapped up another disappointing season. They finished 8-9, which sounds okay until you realize they haven't made the playoffs since 2017. That's 8 straight years of missing the postseason. Owner Arthur Blank finally had enough. On Sunday night, right after beating the Saints to end the season, they fired both head coach Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot. But Atlanta didn't just fire everyone and start from scratch. They brought back Matt Ryan, the franchise legend who threw for more yards and touchdowns than anyone in Falcons history. Ryan's now the president of football, and he's the one who led these coaching interviews. That's a wild full-circle moment right there. Now, let's talk about Kevin Stefanski. This dude is only 43 years old, and he's already been a head coach for 6 years with the Cleveland Browns. His overall record was 45-56, which doesn't sound great until you remember this is the Cleveland Browns we're talking about. Before Stefanski got there, the Browns were an absolute disaster. They hadn't made the playoffs since 2002. They hadn't won a playoff game since 1994. Stefanski changed that in his first year. In 2020, he took them to the playoffs with an 11-6 record, and they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in the wildcard round. He couldn't even coach that game because he tested positive for COVID, but his team still won their first playoff game in 26 years. The NFL named him Coach of the Year. Then in 2023, he did something nobody thought was possible. The Browns had 5 different starting quarterbacks that season because of injuries. 5. Joe Flacco, who was basically retired, came in and led them to another 11-6 record and another playoff berth. Stefanski won Coach of the Year again. Only 16 coaches in NFL history have won that award multiple times. But here's where it gets messy. The last 2 years in Cleveland were rough. They went 8-26 combined. The Browns fired him on January 5th, and less than 2 weeks later, Atlanta hired him. The Browns had 13 different starting quarterbacks during Stefanski's 6 seasons. That's an NFL record.
So why did the Falcons want him? First, Stefanski has a connection with Kirk Cousins. Back in 2018 and 2019, Stefanski was Cousins' quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator in Minnesota. In 2018, Cousins had one of the highest completion rates of his career and threw for the second most yards in Vikings franchise history at that time. They worked well together. Second, Stefanski is an offensive coach who knows how to adapt. He's worked under Brad Childress, Leslie Frazier, and Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. He climbed from being an assistant to the head coach all the way up to offensive coordinator over 14 years. The Browns had 3 top 6 finishes in rushing yards per game while he was there. He knows how to use a running back, and the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, who just made first-team All-Pro.
But don't nobody want this ugly ass nigga, bro, man. Get your ass on, bro. The Atlanta Falcons do not fuck with this city, bro. Y'all nigga went and did that, bro, on 32, bro. What the f***, bro? All the shit you did to Shador, bro. We don't want your ass, bro. We want Shador, ugly ass nigga. The f***, then y'all don't win and got Matt as the f***ing VP. And this the first decision you gonna do, nigga? What the f*** is going on in the city? See, that's why I be over there with the Hawks, bro. They don't do stupid ass shit. I mean, they might do some questionable shit, but they don't do stupid ass shit like that. But you crazy. Hey, bro, go get Shador, bro. We don't want your ass, bro. The hell? Bro, man, what the f***? Y'all nigga beat nigga. No wonder I woke up with my head itching, bro. No wonder it feel like I got mane in my head, bro. Cause y'all doing stupid ass shit like that, bro. Look at him. He looking like, yep, I'm not gonna do shit down here either. I hate all you black sons of bitches. This is some bullshit, bro, for real.
I love Atlanta. I reside in Atlanta. I love our sports teams. I want nothing more than Atlanta to have successful sports teams as a sports fan that lives here. Unfortunately, these organizations are unserious as shit. Unfortunately, they don't take their job serious. They're just dicking around. They must be at Magic City late at night and make these decisions hungover as hell. Because they could not have chosen worse. What were you doing all them interviews for? I mean, the fact that the Atlanta Falcons made a decision that the Cleveland Browns also made just makes me upset. That alone just pisses me off. I am going to wear a Deion Sanders jersey to every single game this season. I want to be in a field suite on the field in a Deion Sanders jersey for every game this season because I want to remind that man. You couldn't have picked a worse person for the culture of this city. He better prove me wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. He better prove me wrong.
The Atlanta Falcons have officially hired Kevin Stefanski as the coach of the future. My immediate reaction? The sad part, bro, I convinced myself Raheem Morris was the guy for the job. I convinced myself Arthur Smith was the guy for the job. Why are we always the organization that gotta convince ourselves that somebody's good? Why can't we just go get somebody unanimously? Oh my, that word just kicked my ass. But unanimously, where everybody can agree that was the hire. Bro, what the fuck? And if you want to know how loyal I am, I'm still gonna root for this sucker, but fuck. Cleveland Browns of the South. We the Cleveland Browns of the South, bro. We ain't never sniffing the Lombardi, bro. Damn!
Also, before I lay it down tonight, I wanted to go ahead and send my condolences out to the Atlanta Falcons fans, okay? And the Atlanta Falcons players. Like, y'all had a lot going for y'all, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot on the horizon. Of course, that's not going to be the case now. So, yeah, I know a lot of good Atlanta Falcons fans, man, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that y'all went and got Stefanski. I think it's a 5-year deal. So, yeah, man, like, that's tough, man. But, yo, my condolences to y'all. My condolences.
I think Kevin Stefanski is addicted to the struggle. Choosing to go from the Cleveland Browns to the Atlanta Falcons is a choice. It's kind of intriguing me. Like, as a Falcons fan, what made you want to come here? Was it the playoff drought? When he got to the Cleveland Browns, they had not won a playoff game in 17 seasons. His first year with the Cleveland Browns, he ended their 17-year playoff drought. He is now the head coach for the Atlanta Falcons, where they have not won a playoff game in 8 seasons. As of right now, the Atlanta Falcons currently have the second longest playoff drought in the NFL. He might have a thing for trying to fix a franchise, and he was actually on route to fix the Cleveland Browns before the front office just blew it all up with Deshaun Watson. So you know what? As a Falcons fan, come on. Come end our playoff drought.
Wow. Out of all the coaches that the Atlanta Falcons pick, they pick Kevin Stefanski as their new head coach. Why didn't y'all just wait for, like, Tomlin to say something? Wow. Well, Michael Penix, look like you ain't playing. You better warm that bench because he putting Kirk Cousins in. You ain't getting in for nothing.
Ride down. Arthur Blank hired Kevin Stefanski. This move proves and shows that he's not in the room. Like Atlanta, Georgia, Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland Browns. What just happened with Shadur Sanders, I can tell you the fans in ATL don't like that. And also, Kevin Stefanski has a terrible record. So what is Arthur Blank's strategy here? Is it a business Home Depot strategy or something where he wants to bankrupt the team, potentially sell it to somebody else and get out of it, or get the fans to stop coming? I don't know, but this ain't the move, Arthur Blank. And you know he is the main guy. At the end of the day, nothing happens without him saying it's going to happen. Sorry to tell you, you're going to be disappointed again if you're going to still be a Falcons fan. But after this, the Atlanta Falcons are definitely not headed in the right direction with the worst coaching NFL pick of all time, in my opinion.
What else is there to say with this damn team? I'm not naming names. All I'm going to say is that I am in community with those with close ties to this team, and they are not happy. All them people you interviewed, and Stefanski was the best option. Arthur, what is this? Y'all can't even let me be happy about Matt Ryan coming back for like a week. Y'all can't let me be happy about this. Because I'm going to tell you right now, we ain't getting no Super Bowl, no playoffs. We are about to be ranking the lowest in our division, probably in record history. You know, maybe it's time for me to bandwagon my family and be a Steelers fan, because this is a toxic relationship. I can no longer continue this. I don't care about the draft. I don't care about who y'all get when it comes to trading. I don't give a damn. I'm sick of this. We really are never going to have that 2016-2017 season ever again. And I'm so sad.
This is the biggest slap in the face Atlanta has had in a long time. And I know the Falcons fans right now are heated. I'm mad for them. And I don't even watch the Falcons. What do you mean? Kevin Stefanski is the new head coach? Out of everybody, y'all chose this man. Did we not see how he treated Shador Sanders? And you're bringing this man to Chocolate City? We share a vision for this football team that I believe will make Falcons fans everywhere proud. They're pissed off. Are you slow? Are you slow? Are you dumb? The only right option for head coach for Atlanta should have been this gentleman right here. He just stepped down as head coach for the Steelers. This should have been the coach for the Atlanta Falcons. When I tell you this upcoming season for the Falcons with Kevin Stefanski as the coach is going to be pure bullshit.
Alrighty, man. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, man. I love you, man. But y'all could not have waited to at least until the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, to give their offensive coordinator an interview. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't like this at all. I don't like this. But since I see a lot of y'all saying this is a good hire, I have to see it with my own two eyes. My own two eyes. I have to see this myself. But you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna give it a chance. Since y'all are so high on him, I'm gonna give it a 10, bro. I would rather have a young, offensive-minded head coach, but
okay. So I don't know what we were thinking, hiring Kevin Stefanski as our head coach, but it's a terrible fucking choice. 3-14, still like 3-14 or like 4-13, whatever the hell you want to call it, for however many seasons straight. This was a terrible choice, not just by Matt Ryan, not just by Arthur Blank, but by the entire Falcons organization. Now, later in the season, I might regret making this video, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Kevin Stefanski has found himself a new home. Best of luck to you down there in Atlanta. I know all of you Atlanta fans, I'm very curious to know your guys' thoughts on bringing in Kevin Stefanski, knowing you have a guy like Bijan Robinson and Drake London. But how ironic is it that the team that Kevin Stefanski finds himself at is the same exact team that Deshaun Watson was originally going to end up before, the big contract came about. If you remember this picture, there was a Falcons jersey up there on his foosball table. Don't mind the hardball. This is just Photoshop, but this was a Deshaun Watson picture. But that's neither here nor there. Congratulations to Kevin Stefanski on finding yourself a new home. Now, can we please find ours?
I saw this and I was like, nah, it can't be true. Why would they do that? This can't be true. Quick Google search proves it is true. As a New Orleanian, great job, Falcons. Great job. Because there's no way they watched that man stick with the same thing that wasn't working all season till the season was damn near over with and thought, let's bring him here so he can do it again. Why not leave him on the couch?
The reactions to this hire have been all over the place. Skip Bayless went on a rant calling this a terrible hire. He pointed out Stefanski's losing record and said Atlanta's making the same mistakes Cleveland made. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk jumped in too, sarcastically posting multiple Super Bowl wins coming to Atlanta after Bayless's comments. But a lot of people are defending this hire.
Stefanski was one of the top candidates on the market. Multiple teams interviewed him, including the Ravens, Dolphins, Giants, and Titans. The Giants ended up hiring John Harbaugh, who the Falcons also interviewed. When Harbaugh took the Giants job, Atlanta moved fast and locked up Stefanski the same day. People are pointing out that Stefanski had success in Cleveland that hadn't been seen in decades. He's the first Browns coach since Marty Schottenheimer in the 1980s to have 2 double-digit win seasons. Only Bill Belichick in 1994 and Romeo Crennel in 2007 had even won 10 games with the Browns between those eras. Stefanski won 11 games twice and won Coach of the Year both times. The argument is that if Stefanski can win in Cleveland with that dysfunctional organization, imagine what he can do in Atlanta with better talent and a more stable front office. Matt Ryan is building that front office right now. They still need to hire a general manager, and names like Josh Williams from the 49ers and Ian Cunningham from the Bears are the frontrunners. Stefanski is already building his staff. Reports say the Falcons are expected to hire Bill Callahan, who's one of the best offensive line coaches in football. There's also talk about whether they'll keep defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, who had that defense playing at a high level. The Falcons denied at least one team from interviewing Ulbrich, which suggests they want to keep him around. If they retain Ulbrich and pair him with Stefanski running the offense, that could be a really solid combination.
Stefanski also has history with Drew Musgraves, who was his senior offensive assistant in Cleveland in 2023, and then became the full-time quarterbacks coach in 2025. There's speculation Musgraves could follow Stefanski to Atlanta in some capacity. The biggest question is what happens with the roster. Do they stick with Cousins and Penix, or do they make moves? Do they re-sign Kyle Pitts, who's a free agent? How do they fill holes on both offensive and defensive lines without a first-round pick and limited cap space? Look, this hire makes sense when you really think about it. The Falcons needed an offensive coach who can develop quarterbacks and maximize the talent they already have. Stefanski has proven he can do that even in terrible situations. He's won Coach of the Year twice. He took the Browns to the playoffs twice when they hadn't been there in almost 2 decades. He did all of that while dealing with constant quarterback changes and a front office that kept making his job harder. Now he's got Bijan Robinson, who might be the best pure running back in football right now. He's got Drake London, who's developing into a legitimate #1 receiver. He's got a defense that can actually get to the quarterback. And he's working with Matt Ryan, someone who understands what it takes to win in Atlanta and who knows the organization inside and out. Is this a guaranteed home run? No. The quarterback situation is messy. They don't have a first-round pick, and the division is competitive. But the Falcons needed to make a change, and they went out and got one of the most respected offensive minds available. Stefanski's track record shows he can win even when everything is working against him. The real question is whether the Falcons can give him the support he needs to succeed. That means hiring the right general manager, figuring out the quarterback position quickly, and making smart moves in free agency and the draft. If they do that, Stefanski has shown he can take a team to the playoffs. We'll see how this plays out, but one thing's for sure, the Falcons are betting big that Kevin Stefanski is the guy to end their 8-year playoff drought and get them back to competing for championships. Only time will tell if Arthur Blank made the right call. That's it for this video. What do you think about the Stefanski hire? Is this going to work out for Atlanta, or are the Falcons making a mistake? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more content.